I was 32 when my mom told me not to come to my sister's wedding. Her exact words were, "Don't even think about coming to the wedding. I don't want your face ruining a single photo." Not, "Maybe we should talk," or "Let's find a way to make this work," or even something passive-aggressive. Just straight up exile. It wasn't even shocking at that point, just numb. Like when you touch ice for too long and forget it's supposed to hurt. That night, I got a text from my sister, Megan. For words, "Maybe if you weren't so pathetic, you'd be worth inviting." No emoji, no punctuation beyond that period, like she'd thought about it, edited it, and made sure it landed sharp. I stared at the screen for a long time before locking my phone and setting it face down. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't even sigh. I just sat back on my old beige couch and stared at the popcorn ceiling like it might blink first. Let me rewind a bit. I'm Alex, by the way. Grew up in a small town where reputation mattered more than reality. You smiled in public, cried in private, and plastered achievements like wallpaper over every crack in the family. Megan, my younger sister by 4 years, was the golden child. Blonde, bubbly, and somehow able to fail upward. Dropped out of college? She's following her own path. Got fired from 3 different jobs in 2 years? Her managers were intimidated by her confidence. When she got engaged to Ryan, who, by the way, is the kind of guy who calls wine grape juice for grown-ups, my mom acted like Megan had won a Nobel Prize. Me? I work in IT, live alone, have no criminal record, pay my bills on time, and bring a covered dish to every family gathering. But I've never been photogenic, never been inspiring, never been whatever illusion they built around Megan. I was the background noise in the family album. And apparently, even that was too loud for them now. The thing about being the invisible sibling is that no one notices when you're doing the actual work. Like how Megan and Ryan's dream wedding venue. Yeah, that booking was under my name. Because I put the deposit down as a surprise gift 6 months ago when I was still trying to convince myself we could be a real family. Megan had been gushing about the venue since she was 17, some lakeside estate with ivy-covered arches and swans or peacocks or some other impractical bird that poops on everything. It was her fantasy, and I thought maybe, just maybe, helping her get it would mean something. I paid the deposit in full, $3,000, non-refundable if canceled within 30 days. She never even said thank you. Just told her and it worked out and bragged to her followers about manifesting the perfect wedding spot. I stayed quiet because I'd spent most of my life believing that love was quiet, that it didn't need applause or recognition, that if I just kept showing up, eventually someone would notice. Instead, I got disinvited. No explanation, no nuance, just a command. When I told Mom it felt hurtful, she blinked at me like I'd said something in another language. "It's Megan's day," she said, like that explained everything. "You've never been close anyway, and she doesn't want any bad energy." Bad energy? That was rich, coming from the woman who once screamed at a waitress for putting dressing on the side instead of mixing it in. But sure, I was the curse. I didn't argue. I just nodded and left early. Drove home in silence. Sat in my apartment and watched the sun dip behind the ugly gray buildings across the street. And that's when Megan's text came in. I think a part of me broke in that moment. Not in the dramatic, shattered glass way you see in movies. More like when a bone shifts just enough to stop working right. I kept rereading her words, waiting for the apology that never came. My hands didn't even shake. I just smiled. A real, strange, hollow smile. And then I opened my laptop. The venue had a cancellation policy. One I knew by heart, because I'd read every clause back when I booked it. Cancel within 30 days, and the deposit's gone. Cancel before that, and you can get most of it back, or transfer the date to another event for a small fee. I glanced at the calendar. 28 days. Barely. Just under the wire. Megan had cut it close. She always did. The confirmation email, invoice, and contract were all under my name. They'd never transferred it. Never thought to. Because why would they? I was just the background noise. I didn't cancel it that night. I didn't want it to be a tantrum. I wanted it to be clean. I wanted it to mean something. Over the next 2 days, I kept an eye on her Instagram. The venue was all over it. Videos of her twirling on the dock, slow-mo shots of Ryan dipping her dramatically while some pop song played in the background. My mom commented on every post with heart emojis and hashtags like #DreamWedding and #SoBlessed. Ryan posted a picture of the contract folder, my signature, captioned, "Locking it in. The best day of our lives awaits." On day 3, I went to the venue in person. Walked in wearing a button-up and my nicest shoes. The coordinator, Camille, recognized me immediately. "Oh, Alex, right? Everything's going smoothly. We sent over the guest list draft for approval." I held up a hand. "Actually," I said calmly, "there's been a change of plans." She blinked. "Oh." I laid out the policy, showed her the paperwork, explained that due to personal issues, the reservation would need to be canceled. I asked if there was a waiting list. There was. A couple had been trying to book that date for their anniversary vow renewal. "Do they want it?" I asked. Camille called them. They said yes within 5 minutes. She handled the rest. I didn't ask for the refund. I didn't care. I signed the release, thanked her, and walked out into the sunshine like I hadn't just flipped the first domino. Then I waited. Not a word from Megan. Not a single heads up. Probably because she thought I didn't have the spine to do anything. Or worse, she forgot I was involved at all. She probably thought Ryan had booked it. He didn't. He just showed up to the tour and took selfies. All bark, no paperwork. 10 days out from the wedding, Megan posted a video doing a venue walkthrough in a white dress and heels, captioned "Final Prep." "Can't believe it's almost here." That was when I knew they still hadn't noticed. They hadn't called the venue. Hadn't confirmed anything. They were coasting on vibes. 5 days out, I got a call from Camille. "Hey, just wanted to thank you again for how smooth that transition was. The new couple is so grateful. They're even adding custom lights for the dock. It's gonna look stunning." 3 days out, silence. Then, the night before the wedding, less than 12 hours before the guests were supposed to arrive, I finally got a call. It was Mom, and I didn't pick up. She called again. Then again. By the 5th missed call, I finally turned the phone over and stared at the screen. Her name glowed there like a mosquito bite, small, persistent, irritating. I didn't answer. I didn't want yelling. I didn't want fake apologies. I didn't want her to accuse me of ruining anything, when the only thing I'd ruined was their assumption that I'd keep taking it forever. Then my phone buzzed with a text. Mom texted, "What did you do?" "The venue says it's booked under someone else. They said it was canceled. Call me now." I didn't. Instead, I poured myself a glass of orange juice, walked over to the window, and watched the traffic crawl by below. The sun had just started to dip behind the rooftops, that weird golden haze making everything look like it was being filmed for a perfume commercial. I took a sip and waited. 30 seconds later, another text came in. Megan texted, "What did you do? You ruined my wedding. You selfish, jealous, pathetic." She went on. Paragraph after paragraph. Caps lock. Exclamation points. At one point, I think she threatened to sue me. I didn't read most of it. Just scrolled slowly, one thumb flick at a time, marveling at how fast they could pivot from ignoring me to making me the center of the universe. I finally got a call from Ryan. His name popped up, and I actually laughed. Like a full, stupid, breathless laugh. Ryan had never called me in his life. Not for a birthday. Not for a "thanks, man," when I helped move furniture into their first apartment. But now? Oh, now he needed a word. Did I answer? Of course not. I wanted silence. I wanted them to stew. To squirm. To sit on their perfect, expensive, flour-coated lie and realize they hadn't even thought about logistics. They just assumed that because I handled it, it would stay handled. But no, when they kicked me out of the wedding, they kicked out the one person who was actually holding it together. Around 7 p.m., Megan posted a black screen on her Instagram story with the caption, "Sometimes family betrays you worse than any stranger ever could." Cue the violin. An hour later, Mom called again. But this time, she left a voicemail. Her voice was the kind of calm you only hear when someone's about to lose it. The inhale before the scream. "Alex, I don't know what you think you're doing, or what you think this proves, but you've gone too far. This is Megan's wedding. Her special day. She's devastated. You don't want to be remembered as the bitter, spiteful brother who ruined something beautiful. We're giving you one last chance to fix this. Call the venue. Make it right." I saved the voicemail. Not for legal reasons. Just because I wanted to remember how quickly they could twist a knife and call it a handshake. At exactly 9:42 p.m., my building's power flickered. Not from some symbolic storm or anything. Just the city grid being old. Still, it felt oddly perfect. Like the universe was giving me a soft spotlight for what came next. I sat down, opened my blinds, and looked out over the city. Far in the distance, though not far enough, I could see the venue's roof. A tiny speck by the lake, barely visible. The swans, or peacocks, or whatever they'd rented, would be wandering around aimlessly now. The chairs would be neatly stacked. The arbor, if it was even up yet, would be getting disassembled. And somewhere, probably in a hotel room with wilting flowers and a melting cake, Megan was realizing that hashtags and filters couldn't uncancel a wedding. I leaned back, set my phone on the armrest, and let out a slow, even breath. I hadn't ruined her wedding. She had, by pretending I didn't exist, by weaponizing guilt and exclusion, by forgetting that I was the one who made her fantasy possible in the first place. They never asked me what I wanted, never once thought to include me beyond what I could do for them. And now? Now they were going to learn what silence really sounded like. The next morning was supposed to be the big day. Sunrise ceremony, violinists by the dock, a champagne breakfast with hand-painted flutes. I knew all of this because I'd seen the planning folder. Megan left it on my coffee table during one of the rare times she visited, back when she still needed my credit card. At 6 a.m., I got a knock at my door. It wasn't loud, just 3 polite little taps. I knew before I opened it who it would be. And when I did, there she was, my mother. Hair up, sunglasses already on despite the morning chill, face frozen in that tight little expression she wore whenever she was 2 seconds away from lying through her teeth. Her mouth opened, but before she could say a word, I held up one finger. "Let me guess," I said. "You came to apologize, right? Not because you mean it, but because you need me to undo the damage." She didn't blink. She just whispered, "Alex, you don't understand what you've done." I tilted my head, slowly, like I was listening for a sound in the distance. Then I nodded. "You're right," I said quietly. "I don't understand. I don't understand why it took this for you to realize I was even in the picture. I don't understand how you can spit in someone's face and then be shocked when they stop cleaning your messes. But I do understand this." I stepped back and gently pushed the door closed. It didn't slam. Didn't need to. It was soft. Final. And on the other side, I heard nothing but silence. The door stayed shut. I didn't lock it for dramatic effect or anything. I just stood there, hand on the knob, listening to the quiet breath of the hallway. I could still feel her presence through the wood, like a ghost who hadn't quite accepted she was dead yet. Eventually, I heard her heels click away, one slow step at a time, retreating down the hallway like she was waiting for me to call her back. I didn't. I went back to the couch and sat down. Didn't check my phone. Didn't make coffee. Just sat. The city was waking up. Horns, birds, the occasional clatter of garbage bins. But up here it still felt like midnight. I'd expected to feel something, guilt, triumph, maybe even anxiety, but what I felt instead was space. Like I'd been carrying a bag of bricks for years, and someone finally said, "You know you can put that down, right?" I didn't hear from Megan all morning. No texts, no threats, no apology. But around 11:45 a.m., her fiancé Ryan decided to go full panic mode. He posted a long, frantic Instagram story that started with "to our friends and family" and ended with "we were blindsided." The middle part was a jumbled mess of passive-aggressive whining. Due to unforeseen circumstances, betrayed by someone we trusted, real love isn't about venues. It was practically dripping with fake humility. Like if he added enough sad music and puppy-eyed expressions, people would forget he once told me I look like the IT guy from a discount sitcom. Naturally, the comments poured in. "OMG, what happened? Sending love, heart emoji. Wait, isn't your brother the one who helped book the venue?" I watched it all unfold from the couch, sipping the same glass of juice I hadn't finished the night before. By now, I was half expecting one of them to just show up with a camera crew and turn this into some sad YouTube vlog. We got canceled by family, but still said I do. Cue the tears. Cue the monetization. By mid-afternoon, I started getting messages from extended family. Cousins I hadn't heard from since high school. An uncle who once forgot my name at Christmas. All of them suddenly very concerned. "Hey man, saw the post. Is everything okay? Your mom said something about you canceling Megan's wedding. Is that true? Just want to say, whatever happened, hope you guys can work it out. Family's important." Right. Family. The same family that never called on my birthday. The same family that RSVP'd, maybe, to my graduation party and never showed. Now they were worried? Now I was worth the effort? I ignored every message. But there was one that I didn't delete right away. It was from Aunt Doreen. Not a fan favorite, to be clear. She'd always been a little too blunt, a little too tan, and a little too obsessed with her Pomeranians. But her message just said, "Heard what happened. Been waiting years for you to stop being the family's doormat. You good?" I stared at it for a long time. Then, finally, I replied, "Yeah, I think I am. That night, the wedding did happen, sort of. Not at the lake, not with the swans, and definitely not with the catered, champagne-drenched fairy tale they'd promised their friends. No, they scrambled and threw together a backyard setup at our grandparents' house, which would have been fine if it hadn't rained. Hard. Like, thunderclap every 15 seconds hard. Megan's dress got soaked. The rented canopy collapsed. The makeshift DJ setup shorted out mid-song. There's a photo floating around Facebook now, blurry, dimly lit. Half of Megan's mascara running down her face while she tries to smile through gritted teeth, holding a bouquet that looks like it got salvaged from a highway ditch. But the best part? Ryan's cousin live-streamed the whole thing. And somewhere in the middle of the video, you can hear Megan whisper, hot mic and all, "I swear to God, if he doesn't fix this, I'll make sure his life is over." She didn't say which she meant. Could have been Ryan. Could have been me. But the venom in her voice didn't care. A few days later, the calls started again. This time, less angry. More strategic. First it was Mom. She left a voicemail pretending nothing had happened. "Hey sweetheart, hope you're doing okay. Just wondering if you had time this week to help me with the printer. I think it's jammed again." Then Megan tried. A text. One word, seriously? I didn't answer. Then Ryan reached out, pretending to be the bigger man. His message was a masterpiece of half-hearted diplomacy. "Look, I get it. You were hurt. Things were said. But families shouldn't go to war over one bad day. Let's meet up. Talk it out. Fix things." I left him on read. And then, finally, Megan sent the text that made me pause. "So what's your endgame here? You got your revenge. You happy now?" I stared at that one longer than I expected. Because for a second, I wasn't sure how to answer. Was I happy? Did I feel better? It wasn't like in the movies. No music swelled. No great epiphany. Just quiet. The kind of quiet where you finally realize you don't owe anyone an explanation. But even still, part of me knew this wasn't over. Because Megan doesn't just lose. She rebrands. And I had a feeling she was about to try something bigger than an apology. Or worse, something that looked exactly like one. She didn't message again for a few days after that last text. No more calls from Mom. No fake olive branches from Ryan. Nothing. The silence was eerie, like the calm before a second storm. Except this time, I wasn't sure which direction the thunder would come from. But I knew Megan too well to think she was done. Megan never ended things quietly. If she couldn't win with a wedding, she'd try with a funeral. And if there wasn't one available, she'd host her own pity party and send out RSVP cards to everyone she thought could be weaponized. It was a Thursday afternoon when the next attempt came. I was at work, head down in code, running diagnostics for a mid-sized company's internal server issues, when I got an email notification. The subject line read, "We're sorry. Let's talk?" It was from Megan. She had sent it from her new email address, one she created just for the wedding. The signature at the bottom still had the cheesy tagline, "Ryan and Megan's forever begins now." I almost didn't open it. But curiosity is a persistent itch. Inside was a long, carefully written note, or at least carefully crafted. You could smell the performance in every sentence. She started by saying how difficult things have been, how emotions got the better of us, and how no one's perfect, least of all me. She then pivoted into guilt-tripping mode, writing how sad it was that I missed her big day and how much she wished things could have gone differently. There was a part that genuinely made me choke on my coffee. "You've always been the fixer in this family. Maybe that's why it hurt so much when you broke something instead." She ended with this, "Let's be adults. Come to dinner. Just you, me, and Mom. No drama, no accusations. Just talk. We're still family." I sat back, staring at the message for a solid 5 minutes. It was a test. Not a real apology, just a probe to see if I was still within reach. Still weak enough to fold. She wasn't sorry I canceled the venue. She was sorry it worked. Sorry I'd stopped being useful. This wasn't about mending the relationship. It was about reasserting control. But I was done playing their games. So I didn't respond. Instead, I pulled up a draft I'd started the day after the wedding, one I hadn't planned on sending, but now felt like the perfect moment. It was addressed to every single vendor Megan and Ryan had booked using my connections or referrals. The caterer, the DJ, the florist, the photo booth company, even the officiant, who I knew personally from college. I explained the situation in brief, told them I was no longer affiliated with anything regarding Megan's event planning business, because yes, she was now trying to spin the botched wedding into a launch for a lifestyle brand. and asked them to remove my name from all correspondence. Then I took it a step further. I created a public post on Facebook where most of our family still lingered and laid it all out. Not in a bitter tone, not with name-calling or spite, just the facts. Many of you have reached out to me regarding the wedding and the situation with Megan and Mom. I appreciate the concern. For transparency, I was the one who originally booked and paid for the venue. When I was told I wasn't welcome at the wedding, not just uninvited, but explicitly banned, I canceled my reservation. I did not ruin anything. I simply removed myself from something I was no longer a part of. If you have questions, feel free to ask. I'm done being silent. It exploded. Half the comments were from people saying they had no idea or couldn't believe Megan would say that. A few of the older relatives stayed neutral, posting things like, "Family's complicated. Hope it works out." But the younger cousins? They rallied. One of them DM'd me saying, "Dude, I knew something was off. She's been awful to you for years. Respect for standing up." For the first time in my life, I wasn't the shadow in the room. I was being seen. Megan, of course, lost it. She posted a 5-slide Instagram story filled with pastel backgrounds and cursive font, where she talked about toxic energy, setting boundaries, and healing from betrayal. It was clearly meant to sound enlightened, but the passive aggression was so thick you could spread it on toast. Then she unfollowed me, blocked me, which was funny, considering I hadn't followed her in the first place. But here's where it gets really satisfying. About 2 months later, I got a call from Ryan. I almost didn't recognize the number. I answered out of habit. "Alex," he said, his voice brittle, like he hadn't slept. "Hey, can we talk?" I stayed quiet. Look, I know we didn't exactly start off great. Or end great. Or, okay, it was all bad. But I wanted to ask you something." I didn't say yes. I just waited. He sighed. "Do you know a good divorce lawyer?" That got my attention. Apparently, Megan's business venture, the wedding brand she launched after the disaster, had flopped hard. She'd ordered a massive batch of custom planners, mugs, and inspirational quote tote bags, but never paid the fulfillment service. Lawsuits followed. She tried to crowdsource donations under the pretense of rebuilding from trauma, but people weren't buying it anymore. Her story had holes. Her pity campaign had fizzled out. And Ryan? Well, Ryan was tired of being the Instagram prop. "She's not who I thought she was," he said, his voice low. "She's exhausting, man. I feel like I've been living in someone else's influencer fantasy." I didn't say, "I told you so." I just gave him a name, a lawyer I trusted. Then I wished him luck and hung up. In the months that followed, my life got quieter. Better. I finally took the trip I'd been putting off, flew to Ireland, saw the cliffs, ate way too many potatoes, and didn't check my phone once. When I got back, I signed the lease on a new apartment with more light, more space, and no memories. I stopped answering any messages from my mother. I changed my number. Let go of the idea that they'd ever understand me. And then, one day, something wild happened. I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. No return address. Inside was a card with a picture of a cat wearing sunglasses and 3 words in big font. "You were right." No signature. No explanation. But I recognized Megan's handwriting. I sat down, stared at it for a long time, then tossed it into a drawer. Not because I needed to keep it, but because it no longer hurt. She'd finally said something true, and that was enough. I didn't need revenge anymore. I'd already won.